Okay, I'll introduce you all to Dr. Ricky Mullins. He's with the Department of Education. He's faculty at UVA-Wise, and this is, I think, the third dog training workshop he's done. The first one was a um, farm management dinner that we had on the UVA-Wise campus, and had a good crowd for that. And then I think he did a mountain Zoom for us last year, and it's by popular demand. We've invited him back. It seems like everybody always has some dogs they need to bring under control. So, Ricky, thank you for speaking with us tonight, and we'll turn it over to you right now.
All right, that sounds great. And I'll share my screen and probably try to have some time at the end for if anybody has any questions about anything. But I know this probably for a little bit will be, can everybody see my screen all right? See my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll go over it, talk about how that kind of got here. So I have a just do it. That's just a teacher in me. It's a warm up kind of deal. Um, and the way we can do this, you can just drop it in the chat. What intrigued you about this session, or what do you hope to learn from today? Kind of get an idea of why people are in here and what they're looking for. I know I saw that Shelly Wade said that. Very excited. My dog is a real problem. I think a lot of people come to things like this for that very reason. I can wait just a second and see what other people might say in the chat. What do you hope you're going to learn from today? What are you interested in? Facebook are worthwhile about silent commands. Zoe said she wants to teach her dog some tricks. Yeah, we can do both of those. And silent commands, yeah, I can do silent commands now with my dogs, and we can talk about some of that. Um, most invited your neighbor. uh, yeah, I mean there are some people that when you do this stuff, you're thinking, yeah, you probably need to attend this. And I know people who they end up having a problem with their dog. Um, but because they'll say things like this, and I'm not saying this to offend anybody here, but they'll say my dog thinks they're human, and my thought is always no, they know they're not human. You think they're human, and that ends up causing how that you treat the dog and what the dog ends up doing. And I think a lot of times that we forget that dogs are dogs. The dogs are aware they're dogs. We treat them like humans. When we do, we create really nervous, anxious pets that have problem behaviors. That ends up being a lot of the cause is when the dogs don't have stability, then they end up acting out in certain type of ways. So uh, I hope to learn something. I hope I can help y'all and we can talk through different situations. And I'm going to close the chat here. So thank you all for participating in that. So who am I and why am I talking to you about this topic of dog training? So I'm currently on the Virginia Tech Extension Leadership Council. Phil had asked me to serve on that, and my PhD is not in agriculture or dog training. I'm not sure if there is a PhD in dog training, but I don't have a PhD in that. I'm a professor of education, faculty in education department. I teach people how to teach. I'm also a pastor of a Baptist church, so I don't have any degree in dog training. So I was a teacher before I became a professor. So again, why am I even qualified to talk about training dogs? Well, we'll get into what qualifies me for this particular topic. Um, I know that a former teacher, theory doesn't matter if you can't apply it. And a lot of times education departments, not really at UVA-Wise, but at bigger colleges, you'll get a bad rap because they'll say, well, it really doesn't, theory doesn't connect to practice. Well, I'm going to talk to you about what works. And there's not going to be whole lot of theory today. I'm just going to tell you the practices that will work for everyone and for every dog if you do it. But you're going to see there's going to be some things that are key in this when you start to try to train an animal. So first of all, meet Rascal. Rascal was a Jack Russell Terrier that I got about 14 years ago. He was a very difficult dog. Still to this day, the most difficult dog that I've ever owned. He was abused. He had the mange. He was flea infested, but he was so stubborn. And all of those things aside, that's not the reason he was the way he was in terms of being stubborn and just hard to deal with. He was just Jack Russell. He was very focused. You can see by the picture, he earned his name Rascal. He wanted to do what he wanted to do, and I had to learn dog training pretty fast to end up keeping him alive. So if I wanted him to live past 1 year old, I had to figure out something. He made it to 14, but his craziness eventually caught up to him. He managed to get through farm fence and electric fence and get hit by a car. And that was him. That was the life that we had with him. It was me trying to keep him alive, and me trying to keep him alive ended up making me very good at training animals. So I had him, and I learned what I was doing with Rascal, and what I was getting him to do was working with the rest of my animals. So I unintentionally trained Bruno. We lost him. He was 20 years old. He was a big, goofy Rottweiler St. Bernard mix, but the dog training with Rascal, he was around it. So it ended up working on him, and I ended up training him alongside Rascal. And believe it or not, it actually worked with my cat. So I was able to train my outside cat, Oreo, who was straight out of the depths of somewhere bad. And she went on to a better place. I said, or maybe a worse place. I don't know. I mean, she was evil. But I could say at nighttime, I could tell them, all right, guys, it's time for bed. And Rascal and Bruno, who stayed outside, and the cat would all come and get in their kennel for me to lock them up at night. They would listen to commands. They would do what I wanted them to do. They would sit. They would come. All three animals. They were almost like the homeward bound trio. And I saw what had worked with them, and I knew that I was on to something in terms of training animals because he got to where he would listen to anything I wanted him to do, and that's pretty difficult when you have a Jack Russell Terrier. I'm gonna check the chat real quick. I see some things coming in. Um, so yeah, we're going to talk about how to make him come, make dogs come. We're going to talk about that, about and now roaming's a different story. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. So now we have Rascal here in action, and this is when we lived in Blacksburg. And there's a poem by David Lewis Paget called "To Bed," and I demonstrated this as him going to bed. He had a little recliner, like a kid's recliner that he slept in. So I was just reading this poem one night. This was well before I ever did dog training, just to demonstrate how well he behaved. David Lewis Paget. To bed, to bed, to bed, said Sleepyhead. Tarry a while, said Slow. So Rascal going to bed on command. Well, fast forward 14 years, we lost Rascal. He died in by getting hit by a car, and then we found Maggie. Now Maggie is a border collie pit bull mix. She's a I guess a mutt, if you will, but she does have border collie, and she definitely has pit bull. She looks more like a pit bull now than anything else, but you can see the border collie coloring. We got her 2 days after Rascal had passed. We got her, and she had been abused. She was locked in a basement. She had looked like she had cigarettes put out on her, and she didn't. She was not in good shape. She was scared to death of men, which made the training her a bit more challenging. And this is what we started with: trust through consistency. I made sure that I was consistent with every command and my body language and how that I treated her and what was okay, what was not okay. Where a lot of times we start getting off the tracks with dog training is when something's okay one day and then it's not okay the next day. Or they can get on the couch one day and then the next day they can't get on the couch. The consistency is that's what's wrong today is wrong tomorrow, it's wrong Wednesday, it's wrong Thursday. What's right is right on Monday, and not letting her and not having any outbursts, but trying to be patient with her and earn her trust through just being consistent and being stable. Every person, every animal wants a stable leader, and dogs are no different. They want somebody that's stable and calm and assertive. And I think sometimes we think that being assertive is you need to sit down, but it's not. It's being direct, but it's being calm and knowing what you want from the dog. So tone and approach. She didn't respond the way Rascal did. That's important. There's some dogs that when now Rascal, I could be a bit more stern. I could say, Rascal, come here. And he would walk over. If I do that to Maggie, even now she'll pee in the floor. That's not her temperament. She needs a different tone. She needs a different approach. And every dog will be a little different with that, but the training still works. So she didn't respond the same way. But here's what we started with, trying to make her feel safe and trust me. We first got her to feel safer in her kennel. She needed a safe place to go. So I took a blanket, put it over her kennel. She still has a blanket over her kennel. She's actually laying over in it right now. And the way that we did this is I was teaching her this was her safe place to go when she was feeling overwhelmed. So I guided her in. Every time she started to come out, closed the door. Gave command to stay, and then I would open it. And if she started to come out, I would close the door. And then I would open it. If she started to come out, I'd close the door. And that's literally all we worked on for 2 weeks. And we made it fun. So when she finally surrendered, sit down or lay down, which says, okay, I get it. I'm submitting to you. I gave her a treat. So people see Maggie now and they're like, wow, I wish my dog would do that. Well, you got to be patient enough to work on the small things for a long time. So for 2 weeks, all we're doing is teaching her to go in the kennel, basic commands, stay, surrender, making her listen to that until she realizes, like, okay, I got a safe place I can go if I'm not feeling it, but I'm making her trust me through these commands. Then we moved on into moderate training. So we worked on sit, gently pushing her butt down. As soon as she surrendered, we gave a treat, showing her when we say sit, this is what we mean. Gently pushing, not forcing, but gently pushing her butt down. As soon as she surrendered, gave a treat. Work on that for 4 or 5 days until felt like that she had it well, that she could follow that command. Then stay, hand out as soon as she stopped. So I'd go, Maggie, stay, hand out. As soon as she stopped, I would give a treat. We worked on that for 4 or 5 days. So what you're seeing is a journey. You're not seeing something that you're going to be able to. Well, I want my dog to do A, B, and C by the end of the month. You can't really put them on a time constraint because it's going to take some time to learn these commands. Leave it. This is a very important one. One that we use this command almost every single day. Put food down in front of her. And this is saying a lot for Maggie because she loves food. The pit bull in her, she would eat until she busted if I would let her. So put food down, and as soon as she tried to get it, I would pick it up and say, leave it. And then I would sit it. She would start to eat, and I'd pick it up and say, leave it. So if I put food down now like that, and you'll see some evidence of this, I've got videos that's going to show you her in action doing this. I can literally put food on her nose and tell her to leave it, and she won't eat it. That translates well into other things. We're going to talk about that. Speak. When I need her to speak, modeled what that meant. Sounds silly, but it works. I would say speak, and I would literally bark so she would know what I meant. So I'd speak like that, and then I kept getting her. She was understanding what that meant. Like I said, it sounds silly, but it works. Teaching her what's, and you might say, well, why do we want the dog to leave it? Why do we want the dog to stay? Why do we want the dog to sit? Why do we want the dog to speak? Time for bed or in your house slowly transitioned her kennel into this command. So when I would say in your house, every time she went in your house, or time for bed or in your house, then she would know to go into her kennel, and then I could lock her up for the night. Kennel trained in that environment. She'll do it when we're eating supper. She'll do it if a stranger comes in. She knows to get in her house, but it's also a safe place. So it's not a punishment, but it's a place for her to go. So all of these skills work really well on the farm when you need your dog to listen to you while you're working. So if you think there's something going on, I really need you just to sit down and be over here for a second and not be in the middle of this, sit. And then I can say, stay right there. That was a really good command when I was teaching her how to work with goats because she was about to get hit by a couple of them. And if I could say, stay back, then she could stay back from the goats, or sit. I need you to surrender for a second while I go do this so you're not hurt, and leave it. This one is key because if she's barking at somebody that pulls up, or she's trying to get food she shouldn't get, or she's trying to get the cat that's running through the field, or she's after a deer, I can say the command leave it, and she'll stop doing whatever it is she's doing because she knows that command means I'm not supposed to do the thing that I'm doing. Those things are key for keeping the dog safe when you're working out. You have heavy equipment, you have a four-wheeler, you have a tractor, you have livestock. When you're needing her to leave whatever she's doing alone, that's key. Um, so some more advanced training. So I literally did all of the previous commands. I would have my wife bang pots and pans, make noise, scream, run pieces of equipment, do anything to make her be distracted and get her to focus on me. So if we're outside in that environment, if something's going on, if a saw's running, if a drill's running, If a four-wheeler's on, if a tractor's running, I can say, Maggie, stay, and she's focused on me and not the equipment. So we did it through distractions. So after she got him down really well, we made sure, like, I mean, my wife would be like, Maggie, come, Maggie, I want you, and I would be like, you need to focus on me. I'm the one in control. You need to focus on what I'm telling you. And doing that with her really gave her laser focus, and it's been really key. If she gets after a deer and she has that predator drive and running after prey, or she's trying to chase a chicken or doing something she shouldn't do, one command, she stops doing the thing. So anytime we had a visitor, she was and is still weary of strangers. I train immediately to make her focus on me. So if somebody comes in the house new, she's wanting to watch them, see what they're doing. I'll get out a treat, make her focus, sit, stay, come, leave it, speak, so that she's training in that distraction so that she knows you're supposed to be focused on me and you're not supposed to be focused on anybody else. We did this 4 to 6 times a day, 15 minutes at a time. It was fun. Didn't scold her when she didn't do the right way. It was a fun game. It has to be fun. If it turns into something where the dog feels like that you're scolding, you're being mean, it's not going to turn into fun and they're not going to train. And food for a lot of dogs is a motivator. Some dogs it's not a motivator, and you're going to have to find the thing they like to do. It might be a ball. With Rascal, he loved balls. He loved, if I mean, he would play ball 24/7 if you would let him. That was a motivator for him. He didn't really care that much for food. So we had to use other things like that for him. If it was food, it had to be something really, really good. It couldn't just be a piece of dog food or a little treat. It had to be something he really loved. So recently, before we got rid of the goats, we was working on getting her to put the goats in the barn. So those commands previously kept her safe, but then I would go, um, Maggie, I want you to keep them, keep them, keep them, and she would run and cut them into the barn, and she would put them in there. Now the problem was there's a few times when she would start looking at me and the goat would almost ram her, but luckily I could get her to come to me before they got her. But I gave them to I think William Mead down in Pound, so he's got Bob and Cecil now. When we moved the farm over the summer, we ended up relocating the goats. So here's Maggie when we first got her. You can get an idea of how she was and how she acted. We doing Maggie. Look at the little cowlick you got over your head. Did you see this? You got a cowlick right there. Come here, Maggie. Come here, Maggie. Maggie. Come here. Come on. She's like, nope. So this was Maggie a few weeks later. So I know a lot of times when you train a dog, people are like, well, the dog don't get to have fun. Well, look at this dog and tell me if you think this is a dog that gets to have fun. Right. Maggie. 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 Huh? Jumped up on the chair like a wild thing. So then Maggie in action now. This was back in the summer. Maggie, in your house. Good girl. And then we have Maggie outside. You're seeing some of the commands. Hey. Good girl, huh? Dead. Big. Good girl. Lay down. Good girl, Maggie. Leave it. Okay. Good girl. So there you see him come, stay, leave it, sit, speak, and then it's her listening to my wife, so it does translate. She's not just only focused on me, but when I'm giving commands, she will focus on me. But this is her going out and in. Stay. Good girl. Come. Maggie. In. Good girl. So next we meet Belle. Now Belle is a little different, and this is when we're going to have to talk about. There's a difference in training when you're talking about training a livestock guardian dog. And I know some people have made really good pets out of livestock guardian dog, but they're bred to work, and she's a little bit different. Now the training is going to look different for her, and the results are going to be different than her, than Maggie. So when we look at Belle, Belle was the newest addition. She's much more difficult to train, but that is by her breed, and that's what she's supposed to be. So she knows come, sit, and leave it. She knows to do those things, and she will do those things. If she's barking at something or on something, she will leave it. She will come and she will sit. But the sidebar to that with her is where she's an independent thinker, and her job is to guard livestock. When she feels that her position is better with that livestock to protect it, she's probably going to do that and not listen very well. But that's part of the breed that I have found, at least with her. I'm thinking of a time I came home from church one Wednesday night, and I asked her. I said I came home. Of course, she lives out in the field now. She's with chickens 24/7, out in the back fence. But at the time, she was inside the perimeter fence, and I came home and I told her, I said, Bill, I want you to come down here. And she just looked at me and she sat down. And when she did that, I knew that she was trying to tell me there's something going on that I need to go check out. So I went in the house and got a light and came up, and a chicken had flown over the chicken fence and was in the perimeter fence. And we'd had an owl problem. That's part of the reason that I got her. And she was sitting with the chicken, so the chicken wouldn't get eaten. And in that moment, I guess she felt it was better to stay at her post than it was to listen to me. And of course, I praised her for that. She's an independent thinker, and that, like I said, that's the breed. She's got to think about how to protect. And there's just some things that she's going to do that she's just going to do them. And it's not about being aggressive, but I'll give you a great example of that. Is her job in her mind is she protects us, the livestock, and our children at all costs. That's her job. That's what she knows to do. It's just her genetics. I would like to say I taught her how to do that. It's in her bloodline. She just took to it naturally. And my dad came in the field back a few months ago, and I was carrying my oldest boy, and she ran over and nipped him on the heel to get him out of the fence. And like he can reach across and pet her, and she's very sweet across the fence. But if you get in the fence, it's bad business. And she's an Anatolian border collie mix. She also knows not to kill chickens. When I first tried to get her, she was actually at the pound, and I called and they said she couldn't be around livestock. And I said, why? And they said, because she's killed chickens. And I said, can you call and ask the owners some questions, the previous owners? And they said, yeah. And they asked them some questions, and I felt that I would do things differently than the owners did. So I said, I'd like to have her. And, uh, and I made a decision to put her around livestock, but I showed her the chickens, and she would get really excited. And every time that she would get excited to go near them with excitement, you don't do that. And I kept doing that. I did that for about 2 weeks at a time. I would catch a chicken, I would take it to her, and then now I can let the chickens out. They can go in her kennel, they can mess with her, they can drink her water. I mean, there's times when she's sitting out in the field and they're all around her everywhere. They'll get on her. But I had to disassociate her from. But she was bored. Is pretty much what it amounted to in the other situation. I think she was in a place where she was bored and she didn't know what to do. So I think she tried to play with the chickens and ended up killing them. But she's never killed one of mine. So here's Belle. This is at our old property. We don't live here anymore. Like I said, this was when she was with us, but she stays out with the chickens now. Belle, come here. Good girl. Sit for me. That's a good girl. Girl. Okay. Come here, Belle. Girl, sit. Good girl, Belle. So some training takeaways. The most important is the transfer of training to different situations. Um, I think you have to try it in different places. The dog might train perfectly at home, and then you take the dog out on a trail, or you try to take the dog walking, and the dog acts totally different. It's because there's different stimuli. The dog will act different, so you're going to have to make sure how the dog acts and adjust your training. So we would train on the Guest River Gorge, and I would walk her off leash, and we would walk up by other dogs and then pulling and biting, and she never even looked at them because we transferred that training. I got her to focus on me, and she kept that laser focus when we would go out. And you got to remember that training isn't linear. Every day isn't a mountaintop experience. There will be regressions. Things will be going well, and all of a sudden they won't. And it's not just an A to Z trajectory where you're going to start, the dog is going to be not trained, and then all of a sudden the dog is going to be trained. There's days where we're outside and I'm training with her, and I'm thinking I could wring that dog's neck because she's not listening to something. There's different things going on different days. There's different smells. There's things that the dog sees. So remember, there's going to be days where it's not going to be perfect. But more often than not, you will have very good days if you make sure that you go through the consistency. And that's where I go into repetition, and consistency is key. You have to make time to do it every day. And if you don't have time, then don't start training. This has to be an everyday commitment. It has to be consistent, and it has to be repetitive. And you can get to the fun stuff eventually, but you're going to have to go through the mundane things of just teaching the dog how to follow your basic commands. And I know that everybody means to be consistent, but you're going to have to set a watch by that. Make sure that you're training several times a day. Make sure that you're going through the commands that you want the dog to do, and it could be different. Like you may not want the dog to stay or to speak. You may have different things that you want the dog to do, but you have to be consistent. And it's like everything else. You know, I know that first of the year everybody joins the gym and well, how do you lose weight? How do you stay fit? Consistency and repetition. That's how it just takes that consistency repetition. That's the hard part, is just going through the mundane. For livestock guardian dogs, sometimes you need to realize the fit isn't right. They're a little different. And we had a situation where we had a dog named Moose. The dog named Moose, I did everything I knew to do with that dog and could not get the dog to do anything. Our fit was not right. Me and him did not respond well to each other. It just didn't work. He's a sweet dog. And I ended up giving him to another farmer who had 100 acres. And he says the best dog he's ever had. For a few days, went insane. Like he was at my house. He started chewing on my 6x6 porch post like a beaver. And I was like, you got to go, dude. Like, I don't have enough property to keep you busy. He went over to the farm with 100 acres and he took to it and he knows what he's supposed to do. And he's run off bears and he's protected livestock. And every time I run into the guy, he says, best dog I ever had. He said, he's fantastic. He said, man, you should have kept him. And I thought, no, I shouldn't have. That for me was not a good dog. It just was not right. And when it wasn't right, I had to find a place for him to go. And I think that's something to remember with livestock guardian dogs is I know we get attached to animals, but with those kind of animals, you really have to develop a detachment and know that they're there to do a job. And when the chemistry don't work, the chemistry don't work. And it didn't work. It didn't work with him. He would respond great to me outside, and as soon as I went inside, he'd go insane. And for me, I just didn't have enough property, and I didn't have enough livestock to keep him busy. So I sent him into a place where there was plenty for him to do. So you can ask me questions. We can pause for a little bit, and that's my email. That's my home phone. My cell phone, I would give that, but if you text me where I live, I'm subject to get it in like 3 or 4 days. I may not get it at all. Sometimes my song leader will text me what we're singing on Sunday, and I'll get it on like Tuesday. It'll come through that late. So there's my home phone. You can call me. That's Virginia Tech email. You can email me, and I'll be. I mean, I can even come out to where you live and look and see what you're dealing with. But I'm glad. But like I said, I don't have a degree in it. I'm just telling you what I've done and what's worked so far. So.